Let's talk reprises. There's something special about saying something seemingly innocuous in the first act of a show and then turning it around in the second to say something really, really upsetting.
Emotional, damn it!
And that is the joy of one of the best things in musical theater, the reprise. Today, we're going to talk about the crucial role that reprises play in the process of establishing themes and carrying a through line across a story as it plays out on the stage as a vehicle for character development and narrative resolution. Unlike songs which stand on their own, reprises hold a sense of continuity and create a progression over the course of the show. Through repetition, intentional repetition, reprises are the best way of demonstrating the transformative powers available in music. So today, I'd like to shed a little light on that idea. Before we delve into some examples though, let me introduce myself. I'm Cash the composer, and on this channel, I'm documenting the process of writing a brand new musical. Right now, we're in the writing phase. Things like the outline and song spotting process, framing devices, even Kurt Vonnegut's rules of writing, and challenging AI to write better lyrics than me. That's next video. If you're interested in theater in writing, or you just have a lot of time on your hands, subscribe so you don't miss a thing. I post every other week on Sundays, and I promise not to spam your feed. Now, let's get into our 4 examples and the lessons they can teach us. Let's talk Hamilton, beginning with My Shot. My Shot is all about defiance of expectation and empowerment of the little guy climbing the ladder to success. He proudly and insistently proclaims, "I am not throwing away my shot." He then proclaims his desire to live each day like his last, to do everything he can as much as he can. "I imagine death so much it feels more like a memory. When's it gonna get me?" He questions whether he'll know or not and doesn't want to regret his life until that moment. He encourages with glee all of his friends to rise up, rise up. Then we have Washington's One Last Time. He decides to step down for the good of his country, setting an incredibly honorable precedent. He's gonna teach them how to say goodbye, and it's heartbreaking and moving and profound, making a difficult decision solely for the good of the people, accepting humility, swallowing pride, and looking to what comes after: comfort, retirement, quiet. Finally, I want to mention the story of tonight. Raise a glass to freedom, they'll tell the story of tonight. I sang that wrong. Anyways, this is a quiet moment between friends, recognizing that they are a small blip in history, but knowing that this blip has a purpose that is profound and will be remembered. Now, all 3 of these songs have a moment of reprise in the penultimate number, "The World Was Wide Enough." There are more in the parts sung by Burr, but I want to focus on Hamilton's nearly a cappella section. Many lyrics are exactly the same, or nearly so. "I imagine death so much it feels more like a memory. Is this where it gets me? On my feet, several feet ahead of me?" Hamilton realizes this is the moment. He has a moment to make a choice about his legacy. He doesn't regret his life. He doesn't even think about his life, not yet. But the immediate question is of his legacy. He questions, should he throw away his shot, the very thing he swore not to do when it was a mere metaphor, the very thing that killed his son, the very thing the show is all about. He then recognizes his life was the start of something great, though he cannot see it through, but he is thankful for that which he was able to do as he lived his life exactly the way he intended, and though he made mistakes and didn't always choose the right path, he has no regrets. That great beginning is his legacy. He thinks of all those who have passed on and remembers Washington and remembers Washington's words, but now it's "teach me how to say goodbye." He isn't ready, but he has to be. It is a moment of acceptance, immediately followed by intention, instruction to Eliza. It is her time to rise up. It is in her hands that he places the very thing, his legacy. His final thought is, "Raise a glass to freedom," and the unspoken words that do not follow are, "Tell the story of tonight," and that is indeed what she does. The World Was Wide Enough would be sad regardless of anything Miranda did here, as Hamilton dies and Burr acts in haste in a moment that he would forever regret. The very concept is upsetting. However, it is these moments of reprise that create that immense impact that makes it truly devastating. These moments of hope turn not sour, but bittersweet. And on rewatching the musical and hearing these moments again, you have that realization, that knowledge that these words have another meaning. Ugh, it's just wonderful and terrible. The lesson here is that words in the same order said by the same person can have a completely different and even sometimes opposite meaning, which changes the perception of the earlier iteration on future visits. Next, let's talk Merrily We Roll Along. Stephen Sondheim's show is backwards. It starts at the end and works its way back to the beginning, starting with the broken despair and ending in the beautiful hope. You'll notice that's a theme with the reprises I've chosen, hope that gets twisted into something else. Anyways, this reverse chronology ensures that you experience the songs in the opposite manner one might in any other show. In other words, it gives you the heartbreak immediately. Yay! The first rendition of Not a Day Goes By is sung by Beth, Frank's wife with whom he is currently pursuing a divorce. She tells him that she still loves him, and every day she mourns that relationship. The heartbreak is perpetual. They love each other, but they cannot be together. Frank has made terrible, irreconcilable, disgusting choices which have sealed this. But that doesn't erase what she felt for him, what she feels for him. It's poignant in its simplicity. That day after day after day after day, she is waiting for that terrible heartbreak to end. After all, they are connected by a child. He is somewhere a part of her life, no matter what. Then we have the reprise at their wedding, the polar opposite situation. Beth says the same words, eager to live each day until her last alongside Frank, celebrating that her love is everlasting, that everlasting love that we as the audience are fully aware will turn into everlasting heartbreak. She looks to the future as endless and full while we are forced to squirm in our seats, wishing we could tell her, no, don't do it, but knowing it's far too late for that. It's that hindsight, isn't it? But it doesn't end there, no. Sondheim is the master of adding a cherry on top, another layer that just makes it a little bit worse, tipping the scales from devastating into unbearable. Here, Mary is singing too. We, as the audience, know that she holds a torch for Frank and has for a very long time. And now, she is watching as he marries this woman who isn't her. She is happy because she likes and loves them both and is happy for the both of them. Happy for them, despondent for herself. And we in the audience are pulling our hair out, wanting her to move on. He isn't worth it, but knowing that she can't, and she won't. The lesson here is that unorthodox settings and unique framing devices, as discussed in my video a few weeks ago, can serve to manipulate the audience's perception of a reprise in an unprecedented manner. In Stephen Schwartz's Wicked, anybody else excited about the upcoming movie? Anyways, we have another song about love, about a man, I'm Not That Girl. Elphaba has a crush, and it's not reciprocated because she thinks he'll be with Galinda. In the reprise, the opposite is true, where Galinda realizes that Fiero wants to be with Elphaba, yada yada yada. Oh wow, it's all about a love triangle, right? Wrong! I'm not the biggest fan of Wicked, and this song is one of the many reasons why. It is a moment focused on a man and his feelings at first glance, but it is not about he could be that boy. It is about I'm not that girl. Specifically, it's about that girl. First, Elphaba recognizing Galinda. Galinda has just given her a makeover, basically deciding that they were going to be friends. Elphaba doesn't for a second harbor any resentment towards Galinda. Her friendship, their friendship, matters way more than some guy. And second, Galinda recognizing Elphaba. She initially does in fact harbor a resentment for her former friend, a resentment which leads to Fiero's capture and Nessarosa's death. She regrets this immediately following these consequences, but it is too late. She does what she can to mitigate it, culminating in a last-ditch effort to protect Elphaba, warning her, embracing her, and sharing a moment of pure forgiveness as they say goodbye. These songs are about their friendship, the bond between Elphaba and Galinda. Who cares about Fiero? It was never about him. It was about the beauty of empathy and platonic love. The lesson here is that a reprise can essentially be the same as the first, but when sung by a different character, it can deepen the emotional message of the show. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Phantom of the Opera, specifically All I Ask of You. This fever dream of a musical features one unbearably long song. Seriously, it's 5 full minutes, which says the same thing over and over again 50 times. It's Raoul assuring Christine that he will protect her from the fears that he just dismissed because he's a bit of an ass, and Christine immediately asking him to whisk her away and spend eternity with her. When you watch it for the first time as a 12-year-old with braces and dreams of mysterious men and love triangles and masquerades, you think it's the most romantic thing ever. It's not. It's either a cliche thing that's entirely cringe, or two people bonding over shared trauma. Either way, not romantic, just trying real hard to be. Listen, before you fangirls come for me in the comments, let me just say, I love this show. I also recognize its inherent lack of logic and the problematic nature of pretty much the entire thing. I do not ship Christine with Raoul, but I also don't ship Christine with Eric. I ship her with her career. She can do better than both those sad sacks. Anyways, then you have the reprise. The Phantom, at the climax of the show, literally the point of no return, tenderly sings these same words as Raoul to Christine, with one minor change. Say you'll share with me one love, one lifetime. Lead me, save me from my solitude. Say you want me with you here, beside you. Anywhere you go, let me go too. Christine, that's all I ask of. And then she rips the mask off. Yes, there's the obvious parallel. Christine and Raoul were looking to escape the madness and danger and pursue happiness together away from the risk of death and destruction in the path of the Phantom, while the Phantom wants to escape the loneliness of his exile and pursue happiness away from these people who have tormented him in his banishment from society. Yes, there's that small change of Raoul wanting to rescue Christine from her perceived solitude versus the Phantom wanting Christine to save him from his apparent loneliness. Yeah, all of that is fairly obvious, but there's one big difference that I'd like to talk about in this particular reprise, and that is the context. Raoul and Christine ran up to the rooftop of the Palais Garnier to be alone. They found that momentary respite from everything, and that spurred the conversation that turned into a 5-minute song that I swear to God feels like it lasts 45 minutes. This conversation resets the both of them, such that they are able to move forward with life as it is, for now. On the contrary to that, the Phantom confronts Christine in a moment that could not possibly be more public. They are on a stage in front of everybody, in front of the very people, the very society that he so desperately wants to be a part of and simultaneously to escape from. These two very different contexts color their words so much. In that private, intimate moment, Raoul is only talking to Christine. He is trying to calm her, and he is also trying to give her the love she deserves. It's not the best moment for it, but when else if not then? On that very public stage, the Phantom is talking to Christine, but he is also performing. Look at the stage directions. By now, the audience and the police have realized that Signor Pianchi is dead behind the curtain, and it is the Phantom who sings in his place. Christine knows it too. As a final confirmation, the Phantom sings. He is performing for the police, for Raoul, for the entire audience. He is proclaiming his love for Christine, and he is justifying all of his horrendous actions. And those final words, Christine, that's all I ask of, which he doesn't quite finish because she sees through them, serve to lie, to pretend as though he hasn't asked the impossible of her throughout this entire thing, controlling her and the people around her through his ridiculous and cruel manipulations. The lesson here is that a reprise can have the exact same words and the exact same initial surface-level perceived meaning, but the context of the song can change everything. Reprises are an incredible tool, underutilized by many. They're often my favorite songs as they have double the time to develop and cause that fantastic emotional damage we all hope to find in the theater. I probably overutilize them in my work, if I'm honest. In my debut show, Fantasmagoriana, I have 5 obvious reprises and 3 more sneaky ones. Reprises where it's not labeled as a reprise, but on hearing it you go, ooh yeah, nope, that's a reprise, all right. And there are only 25 songs, so almost a third of them are reprises. But, I would argue that the repetition of these motifs, these musical echoes, they serve as a through line in the piece that really lends a sense of continuity to the thing. But then I wrote it, so I'm a little biased. What do I know? Come to your own conclusions. It'll be premiering this Halloween. Tickets are available now if you live in the Charleston area or want to travel down here. Or you can subscribe to my Patreon where you can find the filmed version in early 2025. Anyhow, it's now time to talk about the application of reprises in my musical about Lavinia Fisher. For those of you who don't know the story yet, Lavinia Fisher is a legend in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina. The story goes that she and her husband, John, ran an inn as a front to rob and kill their tenants, which led to their eventual arrest, and that Lavinia couldn't be hanged as a married woman, so they killed John first. She then wore her wedding gown to the gallows and pleaded with the crowd to marry her to save her life. When no one took her up on it, she jumped to her death. Now, it is true that she had a husband and his name was John, and they did run an inn, and they were arrested and they were hanged. However, that's about all that's true there. They weren't serial killers. They weren't even accused of that. They were accused of highway robbery, and they were probably innocent of that. They also weren't hanged separately. They were hanged simultaneously after sharing a tearful embrace, and she certainly wasn't hanged in her wedding gown, though she was hanged in white. So was John. Anyways, an important thing to note is that I've decided on a framing device for the show wherein a ghost tour guide will narrate the fictional legend as the historical facts are actually played out before us. Another important thing to note is that the very first scene in the show will be the marriage of Lavinia and John. Now, it took me a sec, but I soon realized the parallels that you probably already noticed. There are 3. The wedding at the beginning, and then the finale, two-sided there. The legend of the wedding dress and begging for someone to save her through matrimony, and the fact of their final embrace before dying together. A perfect opportunity for the golden prize of reprises, a finale that reprises the opening number. And I figured out the perfect tag for it too. Take my hand. To take one's hand is an idiom often used to describe agreeing to marry or even the act of marriage itself. There's a suspicion that the idiom originated with the tradition of hand fasting, so it's been around for quite a long time. Additionally, the act of taking one's hand, or even the phrase, take my hand, often may precede a moment of intensity as a means of guiding the other or seeking comfort, or even both. In other words, it's the perfect tool off of which to base this song. Now, to be perfectly clear, sometimes I write the lyrics first, sometimes I write the music first, but most of the time I write both at the same time. One cannot really exist without the other. I'll get more into that in the next video, which will be all about lyric writing and my personal process. Anyhow, here I'm going to first sing you the lyrics straight, without inflection, other than, natural phrasing. Then I'm going to give you the context for the song, both in the opening number and in the finale, to dissect it to show you exactly how it works. Take my hand and lead me to the morning, to watch the sunrise, the horizon of your shoulder, for it is colder when I'm alone. Take my hand and lead me to tomorrow. Abate this sorrow that I feel. Show me that this world is real. For when I'm with you, your love is all I know. Take my hand and lead me to the rest of of my life, through trouble and strife, husband and wife. I'm not the best singer in the world, and I haven't really finalized the accompaniment on that yet, so it's a bit rough, but gets the point across, right? Now I should note, these are not necessarily the final lyrics. In fact, they definitely aren't. There's so many words that I'm not satisfied with. Alone, abate, show, love, rest, they're all just terrible. And I'm sure I'll do a video on word choice sooner or later, but it gets the point across for now. In the beginning, fairly obviously, these words will be sung by an infatuated John, as he is so enamored with his new bride. His bride who he cannot legally marry. So he says these words as his vows, promising fidelity and that permanent bond, even though both spiritually and legally their marriage is not recognized. But to him, to them both, that doesn't matter. All that matters is that promise that they will be together, and he will take her lead for better or for worse. Quite a nice sentiment, I must say. I consider myself terrible at writing love songs, and this is no exception. All of my love songs have a rule. They have a cruel twist. Sorry. Speaking of cruel twists, that reprise will feature Lavinia singing to John as they stand at the gallows. Instead of sentiment that they will spend their lives together, it is a moment of regret, a moment of mourning. See what I did there with that first line? Mourning/mourning. Yeah, okay, that first line is asking him to take her hand so she doesn't feel so alone as they take the plunge. The second line is filled with sorrow, aptly so, and begging him to be her focus so that she can forget everything that's happening and just focus on him. That tomorrow that she speaks of is not false hope, but an acceptance of death and willingness for whatever comes after. And finally, the third line has that fantastic little phrase, lead me to the rest of my life. The rest of my life, what little there is left. She just wants to have that to share with him as they are about to die. I'm sorry if I seem happy talking about this. It's quite dark, I know. It is devastating. It's just that I'm quite proud of these lyrics for their double meaning. Or should I say, triple meaning. You see, Lavinia will either sing at the same time as or be echoed by our ghost tour guide as they narrate the legend. The tour guide will show this as a desperate plea for someone in the audience to save her, to let her see the morning, to let her see tomorrow, to let her live out the rest of her natural life. Cries of entitlement, bargaining, desperation, and anger at the world. All this in just 3 words. Take my hand. Now, this isn't the first time I've done a song with a triple meaning. I did much the same thing with the lullabies in Fantasmagoriana, but you'll have to check out that show to learn more about that. In fact, if you enjoy watching the process of writing this new show, you should check out my Patreon. I've been posting on there since October of 2022, all about my work writing and producing Fantasmagoriana and this new show. I also upload all of the videos for this channel as soon as I'm done editing them, so my patrons get to see everything early. You can subscribe for free to see my monthly updates on my work, or if you'd like to support my work directly, you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month to see so much more. If you don't know if it'll be worth it, that's okay. You can actually do a free trial for the $5 a month tier to see absolutely everything there is to see at no cost. And I won't be mad if you cancel before the free trial is over. I mean, heck, that's what I do with Netflix, and karma's a thing, apparently. Anyways, I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks. I'll be challenging AI to write lyrics to a song, and we'll see who can do it better, me or the machine. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it, and in the meantime, you can learn a bit more about Kurt Vonnegut's rules of writing and how they can be applied to writing musical theater in my last video linked somewhere here. All right, bye y'all.